And we should be live. I'm just gonna give it a minute until I can see that you are indeed here with me in the chat. And yes, there you are. Hi again, Matthew. Welcome, Sam. Welcome, everyone. We've got about 10 minutes before to start. If any of you are watching this on replay in the next few days or weeks or months, if you wanted to skip the hellos, for the next 10 minutes we'll just be waiting for everyone to connect. If you wanted to skip that bit and go straight into the walk, feel free to skip the next 10 minutes. Welcome, Emily and Carol. Hi, Linda. Nice to see you here. And welcome, Michelle. Nice to have you along. Hi, Julie. Nice to see you as well. Hi, Rita. Welcome. So we've got exactly 10 minutes. So if you are live with me right now, perfect. If you're watching the replay, you could skip 10 minutes and go straight into the walk if you want to skip the part where we get to know one another. If any of you were completely new to me, if you've just completely randomly clicked on that live or on that replay in the future, you're very welcome. Do say hello in the chat if you are live with us. If you're watching the replay and you're wondering what's happening, I'm gonna go for a little live walk around Fenchurch Street. That's one of the Monopoly locations, and we'll take a look at local property prices, and I'll tell you snippets of local history and dark history as well. Hi, Mitzi, and welcome everyone that I've missed. You are in Maryland. Cool. By the way, as usual, I just want to test the microphone. So I'm gonna hit the microphone. I'll show you. It's right here. I'm gonna tap it 3 times. Let me know in the chat if you've heard it. You should be able to hear it. Cool. And if at any point through the tour you start hearing some background noises like wind and stuff, do let me know. It could be that I've lost the connection with the microphone, because I've got 2 little adapters, so it's fairly easy to get disconnected. You heard it perfect. Thank you very much, Linda. And welcome, Pauline. Nice to see you here. So we've got about 7 minutes to go. Perfect. Thank you, Tish. So let me show you where we are heading to. Oops, not this bucket, this one. Fenchurch Street station. So for the ones that don't know, if you were new to me, what I do with those Monopoly tours is I'll go live from home with the Monopoly board. We roll the dice on the board, and the dice then, it's a bit noisy. I'm just gonna wait. Fireman. So yeah, I roll the dice on the board, and then they decide which Monopoly location we are exploring. So today it is Fenchurch Street. The wind is already starting to pick up ahead of the storm coming in. Well, it's a bit windy here. It's not very cold, but the wind is very cold. According to Google, it is 6 degrees Celsius right now, feeling like 2. But it's not too bad. When I still feel my fingers, it's good. And my little toes. It might not be the same in an hour. Right, let me see how long we've got. 7 minutes to go. I'm just standing here because there's a nice light in front of me, so that's quite... that's nice to start with a good lighting. I need a flask of what? Whiskey? I've just had a tea. I was in the pub behind me just warming up, so I'm good for now. I was in the Weatherspoons. That is the very pub when I had some customers getting their bags stolen. And actually, one of the staff had a high visibility jacket, and at the back it read, bags thieves are operating in this pub. So they're taking precaution now. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome. Of absent. I'm not sure I need that much. So we've got about 5 minutes to go. We are just waiting for everyone to connect. It looks like I'm sponsored by Regatta because my top as well as the jacket are Regatta. I am not. Well, technically I used to be. Those were from the time where I worked as a photographer in Winter Wonderland years ago. Good quality stuff, but at the time we were sponsored by Regatta. I've just kept them after the season. That's the warmest jacket I've got. Okay, let me see. 4 minutes. 4 minutes to go. And if there's anyone that happens to be new, let us know in the chat. It's always great to see a few new faces. Let me show you a glimpse of the view. I think some of you are gonna like it. So this is, of course, the Tower of London. It is about as close as I'm allowed to get to it, because it's tower ground, so you're not allowed filming any closer unless you've got permission. And Martin is here. Welcome, Martin. So we've got 3 minutes. 3 minutes to go. Hi Linda, nice to see you here. I'm sat on it's pretty much the floor, so people are probably wondering, what is she doing on the floor with her camera? But I just try to follow the light, so wherever I've got a good light to start, that's where I'm sitting. And there's a big, let me show you. There's a big commercial here for crispy chicken and stuff. So that's my lighting. It's the chicken. You can see me here. So once again, today it is Fenchurch. I can never say it properly. Fenchurch Street Station. 2 minutes to go. I'll put the card away. You don't need to see the card anymore. Well, it's always lit, the tower, so you can see the building. Is the weather a shock to my body? No. Well, it was actually quite cold in Morocco, and I didn't have a jacket. So if anything, I was actually probably colder in the evening in Morocco, because I didn't want to be transporting too many layers with me. I had a big jumper, but I binned it in India because I didn't have enough space. Because I wasn't meant to take a flight in the middle, but I only had 7 kilos, so I couldn't take the big jumper. And welcome, Amanda. Welcome everyone else that just joined. We've got about 1 minute before to officially get started. You saw Moby Dick with puppets. Oh, that sounds cool. Welcome, Tariq. Nice to see you here. Let me see. It is officially time to start. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Tower of London for now. So let's go. Let me gracefully stand up without bumping my head, and without further ado, let me flip this camera around and let's go. So I am by the Tower of London. I'm not gonna stay here very long because we're not meant to be filming here, but of course the Tower of London, amazing castle, prison, mint, and nowadays touristy attraction. The building in the middle, excuse my finger, but the oldest part of the building, it's the White Tower. So that's the part that was built by William the Conqueror. They started the construction in 1078. You know, when William took over London in 1066, let's say that the local community was not massively excited about the idea of having a French king. So William wanted to impress. He wanted to show everyone that they were now playing with the big boys. So he built a massive palace. And he built it here, overlooking the river, to be able to check for any invaders as well. And behind the tower, of course, you see the top of the Tower Bridge. Again, excuse my finger, but just there. That's the top of the Tower Bridge. Now, let's make a move. I'll just show you a couple of details over here. The church you see straight ahead, it's All Hallows by the Tower. It's the oldest church in this part of London. It dates back to the 7th century. 675 to be precise. Not the full building, it's been destroyed a few times, and it was bombed quite a lot through the Second World War. And they used to have the ghost of a cat, would you believe? Apparently, every so often people would see a cat through the service inside of the church. And through the Second World War, when they were bombed, after that the cat was never seen again. Some believe that it might have been because the cat's spirit might have been released, because it might have been a cat that was immured. You might have heard of immurement. It is to put something or somebody into a wall. Mur, it's French for wall. Immurement, they did that a lot in medieval times with dead animals. Little chickens sometimes, or very often cats. And some believe, all across Europe we found a lot of buildings with cats' skeletons inside. So some believe that maybe when the church was bombed, that broke the wall in which the cat was locked, and maybe the spirit was released, and then the ghost could go and rest in peace. Who knows? Anyway, I wanted to show you this beautiful little dragon here that signifies that we are at the border of the city of London. The dragons are the protectors of the city of London. And when you see the front of a dragon, you're basically entering the city. If you see the bum of a dragon, you're basically exiting the city of London. So they're quite cute, and you'll find them at many streets on the outskirts of the city of London. Hi, Sarah. So to make it clear for the ones that don't know, when I say the city of London, I mean the city with a capital C. It is only one of our 32 districts, and it's the oldest part. It's the part that would have been built by the Romans. And we are actually very close to the Roman wall. Behind the building you see straight ahead, there's still a little bit of the Roman wall that you can come and admire. Now let's cross over, so I'll give you another view of the church. So All Hallows by the Tower, it was a place where sometimes bodies with no heads were buried for the time being. That was the bodies from the executions. Because you might have heard of the Tower of London as a place of executions. Yes, but not that many. You'd be surprised, but we believe that over the centuries, only about 20 were executed inside of the tower. That was luxury, to be executed inside. So that was for the high traitors, the former friend of the king, or the former wives of the kings, in some occasions with King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn and all that. But really, to be executed inside with a small audience of maybe 50 people, that was a huge privilege. The normal executions for the normal criminals, they happened right here on what is today Trinity Square, and they had thousands of people as an audience. It was a huge party. You'd bring the kids, you'd bring liters of ale, you'd bring anything to party, really, street performers, vendors, all of that, and that was a spectacle. Now the church itself. You might know a few people connected to the church. Hi, Sandrine, I've not seen you in a while. There's a guy that was baptized in there that you might have heard of, Sir William Penn, from Pennsylvania, of course. He was baptized in here. His dad actually was watching the Great Fire of London from the church spire, with a gentleman called Samuel Pepys that you might also have heard of. And the sixth American president as well, John Quincy Adams, he was married in the church. He was married to a girl from Bermondsey. I think he's the only American president that was married outside of the US, really. Judge Jeffrey, you might have heard of him as well. We spoke about him in my tours. The hanging judge, he was also married in there. They have a lovely, if you happen to be around, they have a lovely little museum in the crypt, and it is free, so that's quite cool. Anyway, let's get back to those executions. So the executions, they happened right here behind those railings there, and that'll be such a spectacle that sometimes there were so many people that sometimes they actually sold tickets. That's what happened with the very last public beheading at the Tower, Simon Fraser, 1747. What happened is that some people wanted to have the best view, so they had paid for some kind of tickets, and they had built some kind of a scaffolding here. I'm not going to go any further because it's a bit dark at night, so we won't see much. But they had built some kind of a scaffolding for the audience to have the very best view. And that collapsed. People died, 12 people. And would you believe Simon found it very amusing that... Oh, you were on the bus right now, Tariq. That's cool. Simon found it very amusing that people died at his execution. So apparently when they chopped his head off, he was still laughing his head off. So that's how we got, we had the expression. So that's quite cool. And one other execution that was quite infamous from here, it is the Duke of Monmouth. That was the first illegitimate child of Charles II, and after his dad's passing, he tried to claim the throne. He went down for being a traitor. He was beheaded here, but they had sometimes you wouldn't be killed in a single blow. So he had given a big tip to the executionist. He was like, please don't miss me, cut it off in one blow. And the executionist missed. I mean, it took 5 blows. Eventually, the executioner had enough. He was like, is there any volunteers to help me to do it? And some say, that's probably all rubbish, but some say that it was not actually the Duke that was killed anyway. Some say that James II, so the king's brother, was so sad to see his nephew being killed that he would have got another guy to take his place, and that the actual Duke of Monmouth was secretly sent into France at the time of Louis XIV, and they might have hidden him with a mask. So some believe that he could have been the man in the Iron Mask. Probably all rubbish. Nice story. So the man in the Iron Mask, the DiCaprio movie and all that. So who knows? He could have been the son of Charles II. Yes, the executioners were very often drunk. It was not an easy job, so often to get a bit of courage, and sometimes they were just way too drunk. So yeah. Anyway, this is a Monopoly tour, so I've got properties for you. It hasn't been very easy to find properties here because we are in the city of London, so it's mainly offices. So unfortunately, it's gonna be fairly easy for you today because I've got a few properties in the same block, in the same building. So once you've guessed the first one, it's fairly easy to guess the second one. But anyway, I'll show you. So I've got two properties for you in that very building across the street here. So just above the Wetherspoons, just above the pub. So we're talking about buildings on the market for sales. Both of them are 2-bedroom flats. Let me show you the first one. Where am I? So how much would you pay to buy this 2-bedroom flat with an amazing view on the tower? It's a leasehold, so you never know how many years they are on the lease, but how much would you pay to buy? So we're looking to buy this beautiful 2-bedroom flat. And according to the view, it's literally on this side of the building here. How much do you think that cost? We're looking at a 2-bedroom flat. 2.2 million, says Pauline. 3 million, says Genevieve. It's actually not that much. Can I wait for more guesses before to show you? Tariq, you're the closest so far. Well done. 2.7 says Tish. 3 million, says Michelle. Oh, you guys are quite high today. It's not actually that much. 4 million, says Laurie. Just gonna give you a minute because I think sometimes I'm showing you the answer a bit too quickly. Right, let me show you the answer. 1 million only. See, very affordable. Oh, Sarah, it's a bit less. So yeah, very affordable. Let me remove the photos and I'll show you the second one straight away. So that one, it's gonna be easy because it's also a 2-bedroom flat. It's got a slightly better view. It's more frontal. How much would you pay for this one? It's fairly easy because it's pretty much the same. But yeah, how much would you pay for a 2-bedroom flat as well with a slightly better view? Because you can see the river and the Tower Bridge as well. Yes, Taik, it's actually, it's funny because since I've been doing those Monopoly tours, I find that the prices are not necessarily going up for the buying, but the rents are going crazy, but the flat themselves, not so much. Julie, you've got it. It's 1.1 million. Yeah, oh, Pauline, you're quite close as well. Yeah, I'll show you the answer. It is indeed 1.1. So yeah, just 100,000 more for a slightly better view. Cool. Let me flip this camera around. No, sorry, let me move the photos I meant, and let's go. So we have a beautiful building here. It used to be the Port of London Authority building. It opened in the 20s. You'd have to remember that London was a huge port with a lot of cargo coming from all over the empire. We don't really realize today, because today the Port of London has been moved to Tilbury, much closer to the estuary. You know, in the 60s, when they invented the shipping containers, those boats were way too big to come all the way down to London, so they moved the port closer to the estuary. So the Port of London Authority moved with them in the early, I think it's in 1970, I think it was gone. So today it's a luxury hotel. It's the Four Seasons Hotel, 5 stars, I think. Beautiful building. And let me show you around the back. There's a nice statue of Britannia dressed as a navigator. So Britannia, she's the representation, the human representation of the country, really. There she is. So Britannia as a navigator. So that would have been, the statue would have been from I think it's 1922 when they opened the Port of London Authority here. And that would have been very busy at the time. Apparently 1,200 people a day would come in. So obviously the Port of London was very busy. You always thought you couldn't buy anything under 3 million in London. Oh yes, you can. Well, the thing is, to be honest, those games, they're quite fun to do, but you know, it is a leasehold. So I have no idea how many years are left on the lease. You'd have to contact the agent to know that. So, you know, if it's less than 80 years on the lease, it's actually much cheaper than it should be. So when I do those little Monopoly games, really, that'll be much more interesting if I knew how many years are on the lease, but you cannot know, you have to contact the agent. Anyway, how much is a night? I think it's about 500, Pauline. Once I was taking customers in there on private tours, and they were like, "Oh, we don't have an adapter. Sorry. Can you go and ask if they have any?" I was like, "We were already gone. We are gone." I was like, "Don't worry, it's a 5 stars. I'm sure they have a lot of adapters." And they were like, "Oh, can you go and ask?" I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's no need. I mean, if they don't have any, they'll get one for you. And of course they have every plugs possible in the world in the room. It felt like a stupid question. Anyway, let me show you. We've got 2 properties in this one. So we've got one for sale and one to rent. Let me start with the one. So let's start with the one to rent. It's a 2-bedroom flat as well, so it's in this building straight ahead. Let me show you the pictures. Where I am. Where am I? Oh, there we are. I always have to focus because I don't want to show you the wrong pictures, because then I'll ruin everything if I show you the price straight away. So that's a lovely 2-bedroom, and we're looking for a monthly rent. How much would you pay monthly for a 2-bedroom here? Your flat is worth 450. How many bedrooms do you have, Tariq? But yeah, you can still, I think around where I am, around Peckham, you could still find a flat for 450. It's probably going to be only, I guess you could have 2 bedrooms for 450 there, but. What happens when the lease expires? Well, you can buy some more years, or it just goes back to the landowner, really. 3.5 says Tariq, 4K says Tish, 2.8, 2.4. It looks quite big, yeah. Well, you guys are a bit too low on this one. Sandrine says 2.6. Linda, I think you're the closest. No, Tish is the closest so far. Linda, you're not too far either, but it's a bit more. Let me show you the answer. Where are we? There we go. So 5,600 a month. I mean, how much money do you need to make to be able to pay that? Anyway, I've got one more in the very same building, but I'll show you as we go. The next one is going to be to buy, and it is, so we're looking at a 2-bedroom as well to buy this time, so in the very same building. And I think it's a leasehold again, so really we don't know how many years, but we're looking at a 2-bedroom to buy this time. Bearing in mind, it should be a little bit less than the ones we've seen earlier with the beautiful view. So how much would you pay to buy these beautiful 2 bedrooms? It's a bit less, Laurie. I am on Pepys Street, by the way. Well, Pips, technically, because it's after Samuel Pepys. So Samuel Pepys, it's spelled Pepys, but it's pronounced Pips. Tariq, you're the closest so far. Let's see. Sarah says 990. 900 says Mitzi. 1 million says Tish. And it's a little bit less, Linda, but you're not too far. Cool. Let me show you the answer. 750,000. Not too bad. Well, not that I've got that, but not as bad as the million on the other side. Cool. Let me remove that and let me show you. So this beautiful little church here, will come back a bit closer in a moment. It is where the famous diarist Samuel Pepys is buried. I'll just go down this side to show you a little plaque. So that's where Samuel Pepys used to work when he worked for the Navy. He worked and lived here as well. The site doesn't exist anymore, but he would have lived right here. Now, Samuel Pepys, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of him. If you haven't, he was a famous diarist. He's left us a lot of historical writings, really, about the Great Fire of London, for example, or the plague. So he was a great diarist of his time. He was actually writing in shorthands, so it had to be deciphered. And sometimes when he was talking about something a bit naughty, he would add some words on letters in French or in Spanish, but people eventually deciphered it anyway. He, you know, when you study it at school, you don't actually study the full version. The full version was kind of censored. They kind of cut off a lot of passages that were a little bit too naughty. Now look at this beautiful memento mori on the gate. So that's the graveyard where he's buried. It was opened an hour ago. I think they had some kind of event in the church. So yeah, he was well, he was an interesting character, Pepys. He, you know, the part that you probably didn't read at school in his diaries, some passage are a bit, well, for example, he seemed to be trying to cheat on his wife quite a lot. His poor wife, Elizabeth, he loved him very much, but she probably had some kind of gynecological issues. He kept referring to her old pain. You know, if you try to do a diagnosis today, you'd probably think she's got some kind of a cyst or something. So they could never have children. And Pepys himself, he had some kidney stones and bladder stones as well. He actually had an operation, would you believe? I mean, we are in the 1600s. You know, there was no painkillers or antiseptics. So, you know, they actually removed some some stones from his bladder, and he was very proud of it. He kept the stones, so whenever he had guests at home, he would be like, "Hey, do you want to take a look at my stones?" So anyway, his sexual life with his wife was probably not going very well, but there are some interesting passages in the diaries where he's kind of perving on girls at church. He's like, "Oh, there was this lovely little maid sat next to me, and I kept poking her, and I tried to grab her hand, but she pushed me away, so I looked at another maid and touched the other maid as well." And I mean, it doesn't seem very consensual, you know. There's also another passage when he's actually going with his family. He's going to visit Westminster Abbey, and at the time, the Queen Catherine of Valois, she used to have. So she's a long dead queen, but on the monument, she used to have some kind of a wooden effigy of her. I think they still have it, but it's probably not on the grave anymore. And anyway, he very proudly put down in his diary that he touched the breast of the queen and kissed her. So you know, that's a bit creepy, really. And he said, "Yes, I'm at the age of 36 years old. I've kissed the queen." I mean, who wants to kiss a headstone with their family members? You know, it's just a bit weird, really. His diaries were well, he actually did some later, but it's mainly over a decade. After that, he was he was losing his eyesight, so he couldn't continue. Hi, Kurt, welcome. Well, I say he actually regained his eyesight later on, but he stopped that very diary. If you're famous, you can do whatever you want when you want, remember? Well, I don't think he would have been that famous at the time. I mean, he was a wealthy gentleman, and eventually he was, well, I guess you could say he was famous. He was voted as an MP, I think so. But he was probably not as famous as he is today. He's really famous because of his contribution to history, you know? I mean, to what we know of history, because of his diaries. Anyway, there we are. So this is the beautiful Fenchurch Street station. So this is the one on the Monopoly board. And it dates back to, it's 1841 that the station was created. And someone was shouting. I was wondering if it was for me, but no. So not that very building, I think it was rebuilt since. The trains from here today, they are the C2C trains. They mainly go towards Essex. And there was a murder here in a cab. 1912. There was a young man that was dating an actress. She had just broken up with him, sadly. He shot her in the taxi. And then he tried to do the same to himself, but he did not manage. So quite sad. And Fenchurch Street is also the site where the first railway murder, that's where the train started from. So the first railway murder, it's in 1864. So the trains were they were still fairly new. They were 20 years old, really. And you'd have to imagine the revolution that it was. Before that, we used to travel on horseback or maybe on a canal boat, but that was it, really. So some people believed that the trains were actually dangerous, that it was physically dangerous to move your body that far. Some people believed that people might have been able to escape from some kind of asylums and then run across the country. And of course, people were also scared for their safety because the different carriages, they were not really connected to one another. So you couldn't run to another carriage if anything happened in yours. And what happened is one night, there was a gentleman called Mr. Briggs, Thomas Briggs. He was a banker. He was almost 70 years old. he worked here on Lombard Street in the city, but he had gone down to Peckham for the evening to see some friends, and he was going to catch the 9:50 p.m. train from here to Hoxton. He jumped on his train, first class, of course. At the time, people were worried that the different classes might mixed in the train. Victorian society was very much divided. So first class, he jumped on a train, and 4 stations later, so at Hackney, two gentlemen jumped on the same carriage, and as they opened the carriage, they didn't see Mr. Briggs, but his seat was full of blood. His cane was left as well, his cane on his bag, and they alerted, of course, the driver and all that. They didn't stop the train, they just closed the carriage, and they went towards what is it called, Camden, the chalk farm. And by the way, this beautiful pub here, it's the East India Arms, because the East India Company used to be just down here. So that's, of course, the company that was ruling countries, and quite not always the best company. Anyway, back to Briggs. His body is never to be found, but clearly something very violent had happened. And a few minutes later, a driver coming on a train from the other side, an empty train coming from Hackney back down to Fenchurch Street, he spotted something on the tracks, so he stopped his train. He imagined it was going to be an animal that had come a bit too close to the tracks, and he was shocked to find the body. So it was actually Mr. Briggs. He was still alive at that point, so they picked up and took him into a pub. The police officers quickly arrived, and they checked his pockets, where they found some letters that were addressed to his place of work, the bank. So they contacted the bank so someone could come and identify the body, and it was indeed Thomas Briggs. Thank you very much, Linda. So at that point, they didn't really have a clue on who might have done it, but they had 2 clues really. His watch was missing, his golden pocket watch, and there was a beaver hat that was left in the carriage. That was quite unusual, because Briggs was not a beaver hat wearer. He was a top hat wearer. He was a gentleman from high society, so he had a silk top hat. That top hat was never to be seen, so they had a beaver hat instead of a top hat. So they assumed that the beaver hat probably came from the criminal. So the police was well aware that that murder was all over the press. So they had to find somebody. They had to find it quick, and eventually they had to put a reward down. So first £200, and then they put it up to 300. At the time, it was huge for a working class person. That was a huge reward. And they placed a description of the gold watch that was missing, as well as a description of the hat that was found with the makers inside. So that was at the time, every single item would be, whenever you bought a hat or a jacket or whatever, you'd know which maker it was from. And eventually, days later, I think it was 5 days later, someone came forward. Well, they had already they had a guy from a shop on Cheapside that recognized the watch, and he said there was a German guy that came with the same watch, and he had the chain changed. What's better, a beaver hat or a top hat? Well, I think if you want to be discreet, you want a beaver hat, because a top hat, you'd look like a proper gentleman. So yeah, he swapped the chain, and the jeweler described him as a German guy, or maybe Swiss, but German accent. And he said the guy was a bit odd. He was trying not to make eye contact and trying to hide his face. And then eventually there's another guy called Matthews that came forward to the police, but the police didn't trust him. They didn't trust him one bit. They could not understand. The guy was a taxi driver. Why did he come so many days later? How could he not have heard about the murder? You know, when you are a taxi driver, you are outside all day. Your customers talk to you. You're hiding in the pubs for a bit. So he said he recognized the beaver hat. He said that he had almost the same, and that his mate, a gentleman called Franz Müller, a German guy, he was a friend of his, kind of. He was once engaged to his sister-in-law, but that had broken up. And he said that Franz was a tailor and he liked his hat, so he said, okay, I'll get you the same hat if you produce a jacket for me. So he had, not only did he have a full name, but he had a photo of him, because he had a little business card. At the time, it started to be fashionable to put a photograph on a little business card. So the police, although they didn't trust him, because there were some stuff that sounded a bit funny in his story, and they just didn't. They thought if he came so late, he probably just came for the reward. But what's the problem? You know, if you offer a reward, why would you be annoyed if people go for it, you know? He probably just waited, because the reward had gone up from 200 to 300. So he probably was just waiting to see if it would go up again. Anyway, they went to that Franz Müller's home in Bo. So that's about where the murder would have happened, because the train would have gone from Fenchurch Street to Bo and then Hackney. The guy was never to be seen. He had left. The landlady said he was gone to America on a boat called the Victoria, a sailboat. So the police was like, oh, we've got to get there before him. So they actually boarded on a steamship from Liverpool. The steamship were, of course, much quicker than the sailing boat. And he was caught in New York. It was a bit complicated to send him back, because that was the time of the sorry, the American Civil War, where they didn't. The Americans were not really happy with Britain at the time, so his extradition took a few days. Then he was sent back, but everyone that knew him actually described him as very nice, and he actually looked. I got a photo of him. Let me show you his face. He was very well behaved as well on the boat, you know, coming back with the police. The jeweler had come as well to New York to be able to identify him in an identity parade or a lineup. Identity parade, it sounds quite fun. A police lineup. And he was brought back and he was hanged. He was hanged at Newgate Prison. That was one of the last years that they did public executions, you know, in 1864, I mean. 50 people came. And it actually restarted a debate of, you know, should we stop them, you know? Because only a few years later, in 68, they stopped the public executions. And it's had an impact, actually, because after him, they started to do some little peepholes on the trains, you know, from one little room to another, so you wouldn't be at risk. Some people didn't like it, of course, because the young lovers that wanted to use the privacy of the train carriage, they obviously didn't like it very much. And they also apparently, you know, the hat, so he had taken the top hat to America with him. So when he was caught, he had the watch as well as the top hat. So that was quite a lot of evidence, really. Circumstantial, but still. He had cut the hat to make it a bit shorter. And apparently, after that, they called it a Müller's, because his name was Franz Müller, they called it a Müller's cut. it is said that young Winston Churchill used to wear those Muller's cut. So yeah, interesting murder. Personally, I'm not 100% sure that he was guilty. Or if he was guilty, he was very stupid. Because when you escape the country to go to America, why do you tell everyone that you're going on the Victoria ship to America? You could have just made up something else. But who knows? Anyway, he was hanged, so too late. Right, we are now at the Old Gate Pump. If you followed my tours before, we talked about that pump before. It's been on site until, well, at least since the 13th century, really. Not necessarily that very monument. It was damaged by a bus, so it's been partially redone. And the wolf's head, it's actually allegedly, we don't know if that is true, but it's said to represent the last wolf that was killed here in London. And as some of you might know, it is also known as the Pump of Death. Now, all the water supplies in London at the time, they were a bit dodgy, really. The water was often coming all the way down from North London, like Highgate or whatever. Symbolic start of the... Yes, absolutely, Kurt. If you go to for example, Mile End, it'll be calculated a mile from here, from the Old Gate Pump. So that's the start of the East End, the end of the city. And at the time you'd go to the pump like to get your water for the day, but also to socialize. It's almost like when you're at work and you go to the coffee machine. That's where you chat to your friends or your neighbors or your colleagues. I think I've got a photo of the pump at the time. I think that was in the 1870s. So that particular water pump apparently was particularly nice in terms of taste. At the time people had a favorite pump because the water was tasting slightly different from one pump to another. And apparently the water from here was a bit, almost a bit sparkly, with a full-bodied taste, literally. There was a Professor Wanklin. Stop it! I've said it right. Wanklin. He had actually already accused the pump of being poison, like many other of those pumps. But the water was going under too many graveyards, and apparently the sparkly little filling, it was actually a lot of calcium from the dead bodies, from the bones. And in 1876, they had to move it to a different water source. Some say that there was an epidemic as well. Apparently, this is not proven. There was a cholera epidemic around here, but it really wasn't proven that it came from this very pump. That's a bit of a myth that started on the internet. They probably confused it with the pump, the Jon Snow one in Soho. Anyway, let me show you. I'm glad the light is still on. So this is a WeWork, one of those little offices. But can you see? There's an interesting wall inside of the WeWork. It looks completely out of place. That's from an old priory, the Holy Trinity Priory. So that's quite cool because it's protected, of course. They've included it into their deco and into their structure. So that's quite cool. Anyway, let's go down towards Mitre Square, the place where of course Catherine Eddowes was found murdered. So if you don't know Catherine, well, if you follow me, you should know Catherine. But if you don't, she was the fourth victim of Jack the Ripper. I'm not going to go into the murder story because, of course, we've all established that in my Jack the Ripper tour. If you've not seen my Jack the Ripper walk, I'll probably do it again soon. I think it's been a while. We should probably do it again. But Some of you might have heard a lot or might have seen Catherine's great-great-great-granddaughter in the news last week. Let me show you. I don't think I had seen a photograph of... I knew that Catherine had some descendant, of course, but I don't think I had seen a photographs of them before. Where is she? There you go. So her name is Karen Miller. She's the great... I think it's 3 greats. So great-great-great-granddaughter of Catherine Eddowes. So she's been in the news last week. Did any of you see it on the news? Now take this with a huge pinch of salt. I'm absolutely not convinced myself, but there's a new book coming out with a ripologist that he basically believes that he's proven that Kosminski is guilty. What he's done, we might have spoken about that shawl that was allegedly found next to the body. Even the shawl itself is actually a bit suspicious because I think it wasn't actually recorded by the police. But anyway, that shawl has been bought at auction. I think it was 2007, and they had already tried to do DNA test on it a few years back. But what has been done by a biologist, private. So Catherine's great-great-granddaughter, she's actually fighting to get a new inquest to actually prove all that. Oh, you saw it, Tish? Yeah. So what they've done is they've again allegedly managed to find. So they took the DNA of Karen's DNA and the descendant of Kosminski as well. They took both of their DNA to analyze the shawl to see, and apparently they've proven that both Catherine Eddowes' blood and Kosminski's DNA, or his great-grandson, were on the shawl. So according to that very ripologist, that signified that Kosminski has to be the killer. If you ask me, no, it doesn't. If Eddowes was indeed selling her body, she could have met Kosminski. They didn't have a washing machine. She was homeless. So even if his DNA was on it, it really doesn't prove that he's the killer, right? And also, even Catherine's descendant, they've been in contact with the shawl in 2007, so it could have been cross-contaminated anyway. So if you ask me, it doesn't really prove anything. But if you are a Kosminski, if you are convinced that Kosminski is the killer, there's more development on that side. Anyway, I've got a flat for you. It's one of these, so either this or this or this, I'm not sure. And let me double check how many bedrooms before I say anything wrong. I think it's 2 bedrooms. Yes, so we've got the 2 bedrooms to buy. Let me show you the pictures. Where were we? I think it's this one. So this is this. Hold on. Oh no, I've got a 2-bedroom to rent. Sorry, 2-bedroom to rent first. So there we go. How much would you pay for a 2-bedroom above a pub? So it might be a bit noisy. We're looking for a monthly rent. That'll be quite convenient for me. If, for any Jack the Ripper tour guides, that'll be quite convenient because you can finish your tour and go straight home. How much would you pay? We're looking for a monthly rent. Let me know how much you'll pay monthly rent. Pauline says 3.2. Oh, how many DNAs there were in total? I don't even know, Sarah. I've not read the book, but it could be anybody's DNA, It's, again, just circumstantial, really. If she was indeed selling her body, which is not really proven either, anyone could have touched her shawl. 3,250 2,770, 3,500 says Tariq. You're not too far. You guys are getting good at this. Let me show you. 2.9 says Linda. I'll give you a little bit more time. Cool. Linda, I think you're the closest so far. Let me show you the answer. Where are we? There we are. So Linda, 10 pounds on you were spot on. Cool. Let me show you another one. There's another one in this building here. I spend a lot of time studying the windows to make sure I show you the right building. I don't know why I do that. No one really cares exactly which building it is. But oops, no, oopsie, you didn't see anything, did you? Oh no, that's fine. It's not the right answer anyway. Good. Sorry, just clicked on the wrong thing, but that's cool. I thought I had shown you the answer. Right. So we're looking for. That's a one bedroom. So it's less than what we've seen so far. We're looking to buy a one bedroom. Oh no, sorry. We're looking to rent. So we're looking to rent this beautiful one bedroom in the building here. How much would you spend for a monthly rent for a one bedroom this time? So oops. So monthly rent for a one bedroom. I'll start walking towards the next one as we go. Pauline says 2,500. So one bedroom to rent. $2,000, $2K, 2,300, 1,900, 2K. Well, let me show you the answer. Uh-oh. I think I've shown you the wrong photos. Well, let me, hold on. Oopsie. So, let me show you the right photos and the right price. So that was 2,300. So that's quite a lot for one bedroom, because it's actually not that different from the two bedroom that was just down the street. Anyway, just the last one, and that's the photos I've just shown you by accident, by the way. We've got the last one to buy in this property here. So that's a one bedroom to buy in this one here. So it's probably very noisy as well. It's probably private, but let me go in. It's, I believe it is above the pub there. So how much would you pay to live right here above this little pub? It's in that building here. So that's to buy. Okay, let's make it. Oops. So this last one is to buy. One bedroom to buy. It's not actually too expensive, this one. But again, it's a leasehold, so again, you never really know how many years you're buying it for. So last one bedroom to buy. Apologies, it's the same photos you've just seen, because I've just mixed up the photos. Tariq, it's less. It's actually a bit cheap for the area, so I don't know whether the lease is coming towards an end. Pauline, you're the closest so far. How could you? You're the closest now. Right, I'll show you. 700, Sandrine, you're the closest, but it's a bit less. Linda, it's a bit less. Let me show you the answer. There we go. 460,000. It seems a bit too cheap for the area, but it's only one bedroom, you know, so it's basically just for one person or a couple, really. But yeah, I suspect it might be a short lease because it's fairly affordable. Well, not affordable, but you know. Anyway, the building straight ahead, that's the cheese grater. You can see the funny shape, so that's the cheese grater. Oh, Sarah, you would have been the closest. Anyway, you know, when I do those research for the Monopoly tours, you know, obviously what I do is I go on property website and I just nick the photos. Well, you know, I'm not the only one doing that. Sadly, there are a lot of scammers doing that as well. And the property scams at the moment, it's getting absolutely ridiculous in London, in the UK in general, but in London in particular. And so I thought I should just tell you about that because, you know, I think we need to raise awareness because it's mad. Even now, usually I don't go, for example, on Facebook Marketplace. I prefer to use websites that are a bit less, you know, I wouldn't use Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace because they're full of scams. But for example, just here, because there are not that many properties, I did go on Facebook Marketplace. The first one I opened, the only one in this area, was right by the tower, just like outside of the moat. There was not even any buildings there, so they clearly put the pin drop at the wrong spot. It was a guy allegedly living his flat share. That was an N Street, 1,300. Now you could get monthly. You could get an N-Suite for 1,300, but not here. Where I live, maybe around Camberwell, Peckham, yeah, but not here. Then I clicked on the guy's profile. He lived in Delhi. I mean, it could be someone that left London to go back to Delhi and already updated. But his Facebook profile had been created in 2020. So I think it was, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think it was a scam, and then they'll get you to put deposit down on stuff. So you have to be very, very careful. Let me show you this beautiful statue. Because what they'll do is they'll go on property website, they'll nick the photos, they'll post an ad on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or even more reputable website. And then, because if they put a decent price, you know, that is under the market price, people are so desperate. I mean, it's so difficult nowadays to get a decently priced accommodation. People would put down deposit before to see the place, you know, and then they never hear from them again, and the scammer has the money. The thing is, if you get scammed, you have to contact a company called Action Fraud. And they decide whether there are enough line of inquiry for the police to prosecute. To give you an idea, 2023, 5,000 property scams were reported. I think 67 were, I'm just showing you the name of the artist here because I think it's quite a cool statue. I think 67 were persecuted. So that's less than 1%. I mean, it's ridiculously low. I like the statue. It looks like silhouettes that would have been shaped by the wind. So that's quite cool. So yeah, anyway, if you know anyone looking for a property, or if you're looking yourself, especially for the rental market, do be very careful. One thing you can do, well, one thing I did, for example, with that ad, is download the photos and then upload them on Google Lens, because Google would be able to tell you if it's been posted elsewhere. And that one had been on Rightmove, but because the ad had been deleted, I couldn't actually see the original ad. Another thing you can do is also to zoom in, because sometimes you zoom in and the plugs, they're not even British plugs. They take properties in America or whatever. They just don't care. So it's really, really sad because it's a lot of money that people are being defrauded of. And I just watched a documentary about it a few weeks ago, Channel 4 documentary. A young couple, lesbian couple from East London, they were looking for their first flat together. They'd found one that was, well, to be honest, it was too cheap, 1,300, I think it was, in Hoxton. They contacted the agency. They actually came for a viewing. So there was a so-called estate agent that opened the door. They went for a viewing. They actually did a little video of the place as well, where you can see a glimpse of the estate agent on the video. And they had been advised by their friends to because it's sometimes first come, first served. So if you want the agency to pick you, she actually told them, I can give you a few months ahead, just because you want to be picked, when you find such a great opportunity. And she sent the money. I mean, she sent 6 months. We're talking, there was 8,000, I think it was 8,100 pounds, straight down to the guy. And then the day to collect the keys, she had no news. And eventually she panicked, so she ran to the place. She knocked at the door. She knocked, and the person coming down, they said it was an Airbnb. So the scammer had dressed themselves as an estate agent. They'd rented an Airbnb for the weekend. They did a lot of viewings over the weekend to scam people. And that's just horrible, And sadly, that very case, they contacted Action Fraud. And Action Fraud said, no, we don't have enough line of inquiry to take it further. When the journalist was actually able to find because they had an ID from the Airbnb host. They had an email address, a phone number, and a few witness accounts, and a video where you could see a glimpse of the guy. What more do you want? The journalist was actually able to find the guy, but yeah, a lot of horrible scams. So you'd have to be very careful. Anyway, see the little tower there. It's another old church called All Hallows. It's the Staining Tower. It's obviously listed now. Let me show you the view from above. So they have to keep it. So now they are going to incorporate it into a new office block, a bit like they did with the Wall at WeWork. So that's quite cool. That's the view from Garden 120, by the way. I'll show you up here. That's the entrance to go up to Garden 120. It's not as high, of course, as the walkie-talkie and stuff, but it's quite cool. There's it's not a law, it's a guidance. When you apply for planning permissions in the City of London, there's a guidance that states that you should give a free access to your roof or to your top floor to people. It's not always respected, but obviously if you've got that in your plans, you're much more likely to get planning permission, really. So that's why we have quite a few buildings around here where you can go to the top. Now, see that beautiful building here? This is the walkie-talkie, the one that looks like an old radio straight ahead. The walkie-talkie, you can also go to the top. It's called Sky Garden. So it is free, but you have to book it a long time ahead. If you cannot book it for free, you can also, there are a couple of restaurants up there. Probably. Are you guys still, if you can still hear me properly? The walkie-talkie, not on this side, but on the other side, it actually melted a Jaguar a few years back. There was, no one is replying, I'm getting worried. There was a journalist that actually managed to fry an egg on the pavement. And oh, good. Perfect, cool. I thought I had lost the chat or something. Perfect. See, there was a journalist that had managed to fry an egg down on the pavement. So they contacted the architect, is Raffaele Vignoli. He's died last year, I think. I think he's from Uruguay, but he was based in New York. He's passed away now. And apparently the architects, they knew, because it had already happened in a building in Las Vegas, but they were like, yeah, it's not going to happen in London, it's not sunny enough. To show you how it happened, it's because of the curve of the windows. I'll show you. I think I've got a little... So you see all the sun over a few meters, they're all being condensed on one little spot on the pavement. So there was one spot on the pavement. When I say the pavement, I mean the sidewalk, for those of you across the pond. So it could be like 72 degrees on the pavement there. And one day, one gentleman came to park his Jaguar between, like, I think it was 12 and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. He came back, everything was melted. The mirrors, you know, the plastic above the mirrors, and the board as well, you know, the front board, everything was melted. So that's when they had to... He's from Uruguay, yeah, cool. So yeah, that's where they had to put some kind of... it's not... Oops, sorry, cable grabbed again. It's not so much on this side, but it's on the other side that they put those little... it looks like little shutters. Martin Lindsay? Who's that, Curtis? Is that the journalist, or is that the owner of the car? I think it might be the owner of the car. Anyway, let's go down to take a quick look at the the Leadenhall Market. It's a beautiful, well, we call it a market today. It's no longer a market. It's a lovely place with little shops on bars. But it's beautiful. Oh, the owner of the Jaguar, cool. Yep. So we are in the heart of the city of London. So you'll see, you don't have that many people living here. The figures might have changed, but before COVID, I remember reading that there were one person living here for 27 employees. So the vast majority of those buildings are offices and stuff, but there are a few accommodations. You want a picture of the Jaguar? Oh, I'm sure you can find some on the internet. What I really love about the city of London, it's this type of contrast. So you've got the market itself from the 1880s, and those skyscrapers in the background. So that's quite cool. And Linda, I think you know what's coming. That's gonna be your favorite moment of the day. The Leadenhall Market was actually used as a filming location for quite a few movies, actually, including Tomb Raider and stuff. But the most famous of all is, of course, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And you might recognize this little door over here. They've just fairly recently painted it back with the right color. It's actually an optician, but they have a coffee part now where they sell some Harry Potter products. Let me show you the thing. So that's where Harry comes with Hagrid. They're looking for a magic wand because he's got to start at Hogwarts. So yeah, they finally started to cash in on the Harry Potter connection. So they've painted it back with the right colors, and also they've opened a little bit of like a shop, you know, with some Harry Potter memorabilia, really. Now, some of you might remember when we did, because it's not the first time we do Monopoly here. We've done Fenchurch Street about 2 years ago, I think, at the time of Hego. We had a flat at the top up there that was, I think, 3,000 and something a month. But that was 2 years ago. It's probably 5,000 now. You've just come back from the theatre, Lethargy. Well, I hope that was a good show to miss me. And one of the most famous residents of the Leadenhall Market, it's actually a Gander.
Are you streaming?
I am indeed. Do you want to say hello? This side, this side.
Hello!
We are from Spain.
Nice to meet you.
Follow. Is it Twitch?
No, I'm on YouTube.
YouTube, okay. Follow everyone.
And subscribe.
Subscribe.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, the one of the most famous residents was actually a Gunter. It was a Gunter that it is said followed the little geese over here. There were like 30,000 of them coming from Belgium. I mean, they were meant to be slaughtered. You know, this was a market where they'll sell meat and fish and poultry, of course. And apparently, old Tom managed to escape the slaughter, and he lived 38 years old. That's huge for a Gunter. They usually, it's usually more like, you know, their life expectancy is more like 15 years old. So he was actually living here in the market. People would feed him, you know, he'd visit the different shops and stuff, they'll feed him, and he became a bit of a local legend. There's a pub down there called Old Tom after the Gunter. The market itself, when Harry Potter comes with Hagrid, there's a scene where you see more of the market. I'll show you. So that's when they come in to buy the magic wand. So this particular building, it's from the I think it's 1881. It's from Sir Horace Jones. He was that's the architect that built, of course, the Tower Bridge. Oh yeah, he's buried here. He's buried on this side here. Yeah. Sir Horace Jones designed it, but the market was there before. It's at least 700 years old, but it was very busy already in Roman times. It was a Roman forum here. They actually, excuse my finger, but just there's a little hairdresser where in their basement they have part of a Roman wall. So it's much older than the Victorian building. Through the Great Fire of London, the market was partially destroyed, but not too badly, because the big walls around the market actually protected most of it. And after the Great Fire, Charles II actually called to charity. You know, he really pushed the population to organize some charity, and they used this spot to give a lot of charity. So, you know, a lot of Londoners were homelesses. A lot of them, they stayed by Moorfield Eye Hospital in Old Street. Not all the charity was welcome. Apparently, the Navy had gifted some of those, those hard-baked biscuits that they have on ship. You know, those salty, hard-baked biscuits. Apparently, they're very disgusting. And the Londoners, the homelesses, they actually gave the biscuits back to the Navy. They were like, no, that's disgusting, we don't want it. If you've watched Pocahontas, the cartoon, John Smith is eating those biscuits, and Miko, the raccoon, he's like, bleh. Anyway, after the Great Fire of London as well, all that part of the 17th century, it was a time where you didn't have a lot of coins. Government had failed to produce enough of the little the little currency, like a penny or half a penny. Because what happened is with the Civil War, and then of course the time of Oliver Cromwell, they had destroyed all the currency that was in Latin with the king's face. They had melted it down, and they had done some Commonwealth money. But then after the restoration of the monarchy, they just failed to produce enough little change. So Londoners had to find some solutions. You might remember we talked about that in Windsor with the Pennington pennies. Well, that would be everywhere. You had some businesses that were creating, literally minting their own coins. For example, this one here, that's from the Grocer's Arms, so that was on Leadenhall Street, a pub. So they'll produce those little coins that would be stamped by the pub. The pub had a good reputation, so all the local traders would accept those as well, because they didn't have any pennies or half pennies produced by government. So at the time you could have paid with all those tokens. They were made illegal a bit later on, but there are still a few that have survived, like this one here. Anyway, let me move the photo and let me show you the Lloyd's building. So that's an interesting building, and again the contrast, between this building looking almost like futuristic, and the market that's very atmospheric and very Victorian. So that's quite cool. It's a type of architecture that's sometimes referred to as inside out. It's not that modern. It's from 1986, and it's actually listed for its historical inheritance, which is quite cool. It's one of the youngest listed buildings around here. See, excuse my finger, but this is the lift. So the lifts are outside, the pipes are outside, the staircases are outside, so everything is inside out. That's quite cool. I think it's no longer, so Lloyd's, it's of course the bank and insurance company. I think they are moved out now. I don't know what companies are inside actually nowadays, but I think Lloyd's is no longer inside. Anyway, very noisy. Yes, there are still quite a few people enjoying a little drink after work. The youngest building listed is now the British Library, says Kurt. Oh, interesting. When was that built? The British Library. Cool. That's gonna be the end of the tour. Let me know if you have any questions before 2000. Okay. Before we stop. Sorry. And let me flip the 2015. Okay. Let me. The 2000 was probably an answer to. Sometimes people watch a bit delayed the game, so that's probably a price for a flat. Do you guys have any questions before we go? If not, thank you very much for coming today. If you want to see a bit more of me, next Sunday we're going back to Rotherhithe, so that's gonna be about the Mayflower. Some of you might remember we've been there before. And the week after, we're going towards Pimlico and Victoria and Belgravia. So that's going to be a brand new tour with some dark tales as well. Thanks, Diane. That's very much appreciated. If any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee as well, it's very, very much appreciated. It's really thanks to your generosity that I can keep going and create some new tours and all that. It's been a while. Good. Well, good to have you back. Cool. I don't see any more questions, so I'm gonna get going. Have a great evening, a great morning, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are in the world. Good to hear, Linda. And if any of you were completely new to me, if you've made it that far into the live, if you've been with me for like an hour and 29 minutes, you might want to consider subscribing. It's the best way to make sure you don't miss out on the fun next time, because when you subscribe, if you go and hit the little notification thing, you should get a notification when I go live, if you're not already busy on YouTube. I think if you're already on YouTube, sometimes you don't get it. But yeah, that's the best way not to miss the live, because otherwise it's easy to miss and then you have to catch the replay later on. Belgravia, I think it might be the Sunday 2nd or Sunday 9. Sunday 9. It's a Sunday at the beginning of February. So yeah, you can see on my channel, if you click on lives, you'll see all of them. It's yeah, it might be Sunday 9 of February. So in 2.5. Oh, 2nd. Okay. So yes, Sunday the 2nd of February. I've kind of lost track of time. What day is today? Well, it's in 2.5 weeks, I think. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Have a great evening or great morning, and I'll see you hopefully next week in Rotherhithe. If not, I'll see you in Belgravia. And I'll be publishing a few more holiday videos as well. So do keep an eye on my channel to make sure you don't miss out on the next live or the next premiere. Bye. Have a good evening.